Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I came up with another movie explanation, which is Siccin part 4. So let's get started without further delay. So this movie begins with a scene outside a house showing a piece of cloth while strange noises emanate from inside. So suddenly a man appears and the entire screen goes white. He stares angrily at a woman, and in the background a demonic presence appears, looking extremely terrifying. So there's a girl named Lal who is deeply sad, writing in a diary about her experience in this house over the past 3 days. She mentions that things are not going well because strange things are happening, and her grandfather's grave is right in front of the house while her grandmother is very sick. Lal doesn't remember much about her grandfather as he passed away when she was 5 years old. Since then, her grandmother has been unwell and they had never visited this house before. The only reason they came here was that her father's business faced significant losses and they had no other place to stay. They received help from Zahira's sister, Cobra, whether through financial support or by taking care of the children. So Lal's brother Omar is different. He witnessed something as a child that left him in shock for 2 years, rendering him unable to speak. However, Lal and Omar share a connection that allows them to communicate through nonverbal cues. The house has a mysterious woman named Miss Rahim who always frightens Lal's grandmother, Sherawat. She acts strangely and behaves normally in front of others. Ms. Rahim had been taking care of Sherawat for years after her husband's death. As the story progresses, Omar doesn't eat at the dinner table and his sister asks why. He reveals that he doesn't eat food prepared by Ms. Rahim. The story revolves around Rahim and her mysterious behavior. As the plot advances, Omar wears a mask on his face, maintaining a connection with his sister, which lasted for 15 days. The situation seems to indicate that the uses the grandmother for sinister purposes, but Omar's sister dismisses the signs and tries to put her to sleep. When things start falling apart, Omar goes to his mother's room to check her cupboard, indicating that there's something hidden there. He checks to see if he might find some money there, but there's nothing. Then a limited amount of trouble arises when someone says, "Your son is asking about the money you gave him." To clarify, the movie gets quite intense as it progresses, so stick around until the end. It becomes evident that something is wrong in that house. One night, while sleeping, a young spirit lifts Omar and takes him to his grandmother's room. This is the same spirit seen at the beginning of the movie. It becomes clear that this house is under the grip of an evil force. As Omar moves toward the room, he sees Miss Rahim sitting with a demonic child in a chair. But when the camera's angle shifts, the same spirit appears again. When he enters the room, he sees a horrifying scene. That night, Hilal receives a call from a friend who had previously refused to lend him money, offering to give him some cash. Hilal is thrilled, but then he notices his son jumping into his grandfather's grave, sinking deeper and deeper. At that moment, the terrifying spirit bites him, waking him up. To calm down, he goes to the bathroom and there he finds his mother cutting her own hair. She says, "I've given him the money." The question arises, who is this person who received the money? We don't have the answer yet. These events seem to be happening within a dream. When he wakes up, he finds a bite mark on his hand but dismisses it due to exhaustion and goes back to sleep. The next morning, Omar retrieves some papers from an electrical switch, which contains strange symbols. He receives an electrical shock, causing him to faint. Ms. Rahim claims she'll explain later and goes to take a bath. During this time, Ms. Rahim grinds the grandmother's false teeth in a blender. An evil spirit scare her while she's bathing, but it turns out to be her imagination. The papers with strange symbols are given to Shahira's sister, Cobra, who assists her sister with something significant. This is where the most dramatic character enters, Han, who is related to the events from 213, and I'll explain why later. Here, Halil and his son are returning after attempting to get a loan to pay off some bills. As they step outside, Omar and Hans seem to recognize each other, as if they've known each other for a long time. Upon seeing Han, Halil says, "God bless you and protect you too." Later that night, Pija notices her mother-in-law standing on her own, having a meeting. But Miss Rahim is nowhere to be found. She goes to the basement, but the door is locked. While trying to open it, she gets something stuck in her foot, and when she pulls it out, it looks like a hair strand. However, no one was there when she looked back. Suddenly, Miss Rahim appears, saying, "Your mother-in-law has been resting and I was in the room with her." This raises suspicions, as if Miss Rahim were truly there, why wasn't she seen earlier? Something's off about this woman. That night, Fiza asks Halil to sell the house to pay off all the loans, but no one wants to buy a house with a grave in front of it. Everyone senses something wrong, but only Omar, who cannot speak, understands what's happening and is unable to communicate it. Anil Mishra asks Miss Rahim why the basement is locked, but she discourages him from entering, mentioning that this was where his father spent his final days. It seems like she's hiding something. Miss Rahim frightens the grandmother, saying, "Your son is also calling trouble upon himself." When trying to open the basement, none of the keys work, and a frightening scene occurs, indicating a dark force hovering around the house. An important point is, the next morning, Halil tells Fiza that he communicates with someone daily without meeting them physically. Han goes to a priest to understand the meaning of his conversations with a child. The priest explains that a pure heart can connect with others, possibly because the other person is in trouble or needs help. Only the higher power has the ability to change a wrong into a right. Halil breaks into the basement and sees something so terrifying that it would send chills down your spine. He sees the same evil force repeating, "Don't send the house back." Halil flees in fear, and when he looks back, the broken door is now intact. That night, Fiza receives a call from her sister Cobra, explaining that the words on those strange papers can open doors to other worlds. And stay away from those words. They can open doors to another world. Hearing this, Fiza burns the papers, but then an egg falls, revealing hair strands from beneath the carpet. Suddenly, a dark force begins to strangle her, and simultaneously, a connection forms between Han and Omar while sleeping, indicating that both are trying to escape from this evil force. They both pray to be rescued from the darkness. That night, Halil decides to take care of his mother, but Ms. Rahim tells him it's not possible, as she is attending to her care. Halil barely spends 5 minutes in his mother's room before stepping outside. Ms. Rahim enters again to take care of her. The same grave, presumably his grandfather's, is shown and screams echo in the background. Lal hears her parents and grandmother calling her from downstairs, saying that guests have arrived. To her shock, she finds her father, mother, grandmother, and others sitting at the dining table, laughing and chatting, with a dead cat on the table as their dinner. Her grandfather comes to take her, and Kandahar city is mentioned. I'm warning you, if you find disturbing and disgusting scenes uncomfortable, this movie might not be for you. After experiencing this horrifying dream, Halil realizes it was just a nightmare. The next morning, Anil leaves for work, trying to find a lawn. He sees Miss Rahim but remembers that she was at his mother's room, taking care of her. He calls his wife in the evening, only to find out that Miss Rahim is still at home, looking after his mother. This was incredibly surprising. How could she be in two places at once? He follows Miss Rahim, then sees a white snake on the staircase, which was previously seen near the grave. Now, the real mystery unfolds. It seemed like Miss Rahim was the villain, but everything flipped. She admits that what she is about to reveal is very dangerous, and she is prepared for whatever comes next. Anil's mother had always believed in black magic, which is why Miss Rahim used to help her. His grandfather's health was deteriorating, and hospitals couldn't find a cure. They turned to black magic, and while his health improved, his mental state worsened. He wouldn't spend hours in the basement and writing bizarre things on statues. One day, maybe out of frustration, he went to the basement and opened the door, find a demonic force. The spirit claimed that due to their black magic, it had established relationship with the woman from another world, resulting in a child. Despite some rituals to cleanse him, his body couldn't withstand it, leading to his death. The unnatural cause of his death was due to these rituals. During this time, the child born from this demonic force also died. Here's what actually happened. They killed her husband and her child, which is why she came here every day to seek revenge. She would continue to torture and punish until her target was dead. Miss Rahim explained that they did everything with good intentions, but this unknown force caused her pain every day. Here's the biggest twist. Miss Rahim revealed that this force made her write dark magic words all over the house to stay there. And since then, she was never allowed back in. The grave of Halil's father was placed by this force to remind his mother of the mistake she made every night torturing her. After hearing this, Halil asked his mother why she did all this and ended up killing Miss Rahim. It turned out that for years, the evil force had been posing as Miss Rahim. They could explain the source of the terrifying dreams and scattered papers across the house. That same night, the spirit told Halil's mother she would stay there until her death. Halil returned to his mother's room, intending to move her out, but she became possessed and took everyone to the basement, locking them in. Omar sensed something was wrong and went to the house. Halil, under the force's influence, tried to destroy gas containers, planning to commit mass suicide with everyone inside the house. It was revealed that the force had been inside Halil's mother for years. Han reached the top room and confronted the spirit in the name of higher power, grabbing it by the throat and dragging it back to its world. In their confrontation, the spirit named Sophia explained that she sought revenge because her child had died and the man who caused her grief was sent by these people. She wanted revenge on everyone. But Han argued that only the higher power could breed justice, not her. Han ultimately defeated Sophia and sent her back to her world. Now the evil force had left the house. 2 months later, the grandmother also passed away. They sold the house to save the business, and his father's grave was moved to a cemetery. Now everyone seemed quite happy. This whole story was narrated by Hilal through her diary. The connection between Omar and Han still existed, and that's where the movie ends. Watch this movie only if you are okay with graphic and intense scenes. If you'd like to watch it, I'll provide the link in the description. If you enjoyed this explanation, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, have a nice day.